Hey y'all, my name is Brooke Richmond. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I'm trying something new here. I am here to share my thoughts and perspective from a therapist point of view on the show, Ginny and Georgia. Season 1, because I'm late. I'm behind the ball, but I know the new season is coming the end of this week, right? Yeah, so I've been trying to play catch up. And as I've been playing catch up, I just have so many thoughts that I think will be really good to talk about and share with y'all. So here we go. I'm just going to be sharing thoughts. I'm just going to be throwing them out there. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you agree, disagree, if you have another perspective. I'm here and open to it all. Okay, let's dive in. I got my tea. I got my notebook. You know, every therapist needs their notebook. Okay, so here we go. First things first, Ginny is being completely parentified by Georgia. Ginny, the daughter, Georgia, the mother. Ginny is 15, Georgia is 30, and we see in the show that Ginny is ultimately the parent in this family when we know that's inappropriate. And it should be the other way around, right? So we see that Ginny is the one taking care of her brother, Austin. We see that she's the one who's carrying kind of George's emotions and crazy, impulsive decisions. They have a big move that they're dealing with. And Ginny is just expected to just fit in and adjust and be fine. Georgia's just living her best life all over the town, making friends and, making an impression, right? But it's not always that simple. And having that kind of pressure on Ginny is not fair to her because she didn't ask for this. And it seems like, because remember, y'all, I'm catching up, it seems like with all of these different moves that the family has to go through because of Georgia's decisions, Ginny is constantly having to adjust. She's constantly having to figure out who she's going to be able to make friends with, who's going to be accepting of her. She's already half white, half black, so she struggles with her identity. And then just being a 15-year-old girl, you got your hormones and, you're just developing as a person. And so that's a lot. That's a lot. And you would think your parent would be there to help you, work through that and coach you through that and help you navigate those different, events in your life. And she's dealing with it herself and then also dealing with Georgia. Okay. Now, let me go to Georgia for a second because I want to spend some time on Georgia. Initially, I will be honest. Initially, I was like, ooh, Georgia is a lot. She's a lot. But as the show went on, my heart softened towards Georgia. So we have Georgia who had Ginny when she was 15. Okay, so she was a teen mom. And she was being physically abused, sexually abused, verbally and emotionally abused by her stepdad. Okay, for the majority of her child life, the majority of her childhood. Ran away from home at 14 years old, was homeless. Okay. Now, as a therapist, as this is all like coming out, we're peeling back that onion, right? I'm like, okay, trauma. Georgia has significant complex trauma. So many things she had to go through as a young girl herself. Okay. So we have the physical abuse, sexual abuse. She was also neglected by her mom, by her own mom, because anybody who is allowing their husband who is not the father of this child, and even if he was the actual father, anyone who is allowing for their child to be abused is being neglected. And so now we see that Georgia was being neglected by her own mom, which lets me know that she was never really taught or it was never really modeled for her on how to be a good mom, an emotionally available and present mom. So Georgia, she's doing her best. She's doing her best. And I had to come to that. And something else that I had another thought about was, I feel like if you are 30 plus, maybe 25 plus, you feel like you're all over the place with your parents, right? We're all trying to heal and deal and move forward, right? And I feel like Georgia's character helped me to have more empathy towards my mom, my parents. We're all just humans. We all have a story. And Georgia had to develop some of her ways to survive, right? So like some of her ways, you know, we see that she's very manipulative in the show. We see that she, you know, lies a lot. You know, she definitely cannot be trusted. And I think after watching the show, I'm like, oh, she's developed these behaviors because she had to find a way to get her needs met. She had to figure out how to survive. 14, 15 years old and you're homeless and you have a new baby. That's a lot. That's a lot, right? And so, and it just made me think about, so you guys know I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I used to work with kids for 9 years, and I used to work with kids in foster care. And I remember just looking at Georgia, it made me think about some of the kids I used to work with and the conversations I used to have with previous foster parents. They would literally get on the phone with me and tell me that this child is manipulative. And I'm like, okay, let's go with that. Let's go with that. Why do you think they're being manipulative? And after like some discussion and prompting, they were able to say like, oh, well, their mom is not around. Or, well, they were abused, so they are trying to find ways to get extra love and attention. And I'm like, exactly. So is the child being manipulative, or are they just trying to get their needs met? Now, are they going about getting their needs met in the most healthy, productive way? No, but then that's where we can come in as the adults in their lives and give them corrective experiences and help them see like you don't have to go about surviving in that way. You don't have to go about living to survive in that way. You can just live and you can just be. And I'm hoping that that's what happens for Georgia at some point. Like, I don't know, y'all. Again, I'm catching up, but it just made me think about when we, you know, say someone is manipulative, you know, what we really want to acknowledge is and recognize is that they're just trying to get their needs met. Again, not excusing Georgia's behaviors, but I get it. I get her, and it all makes sense, okay? So that's what I want to say about Georgia. I also want to point out with Georgia that I feel like she has some really beautiful mom moments that I was just like, ugh, like she is capable. She can do this. Like, for example, when Ginny was going out with her friend Max and they weren't being honest about where they were going, Georgia was able to help the other moms see that, you know, Max got a whole nother life. The friend, she got a whole nother life. She helped her see the different page on Instagram. And when Ginny came back home from being out at the movies is where they said they was going to be at, Ginny was upfront with Georgia and said, you know, I smoked some weed. And Georgia, the mama, Georgia really appreciated that. And she said, you know, thank you for being honest. And I think that is really important at that age to create that safe space with your child. Because imagine, and I think most of us have been through this, imagine dealing with a parent who just starts, you know, flipping out. You smoke? Why? You're not supposed to do that. You weren't here. Yes, understandable. We want our children to act right and not indulge in those kinds of things, but also understanding that this is a part of the process of growing and learning and developing. And Ginny realized that that's not for her. But imagine if Georgia had a big reaction. Ginny probably would still want to do it just because it's going to piss her mom off, you know? So I feel like there's like these little moments where we need to give Georgia some credit, right? She really do be trying. But I do understand, I'm looking at my notebook here, looking at my notes, but I do understand that her choices continue to negatively impact her family. I get it. And it's hard watching Ginny and Austin, the little brother. It's hard watching them having to continue to suffer because of Georgia's decisions. So I have love and empathy for Georgia, but I'm hoping that at some point she is able to realize that she has two people to consider now, and she's got to go about life differently. Now, again, y'all know more than me. I could be being hopeful, and we don't see no change over the course of the series, but that's where I'm at right now. Okay. Now, I want to also talk about, again, from the therapist perspective, I wrote some notes about coping skills. So these are things that we do to deal with the stress and traumas and hurts and pain in our life, right? So we have Ginny, who is dealing with constantly having to move, dealing with the up and down and the chaos of the relationship with her mom, right? She just lost her stepdad, which was probably somebody who was a constant figure in her life, but he also did not respect her boundaries, right? So just the confusion with that. We know that she has a relationship with her dad, but he's not a present father. He's not physically present, right? So that's a lot. That's a lot to deal with. And so I see that one of her coping skills is burning herself. And so just for some education, when you see things like kids or anyone burning themselves, cutting themselves, or like picking, anything like that, we consider that to be, as therapists, we consider that to be non-suicidal, self-harming behaviors. So she is not intending to kill herself. I don't think she wants to take her life. But what I see is that this is a coping skill she has developed that gives her a sense of control. There's a lot of things out of her control. Moving all the time, her mom not being truthful, her mom just, we see Georgia bouncing from relationship to relationship. She has to, work towards feeling comfortable and fitting in new schools all the time. Like there's a lot of things out of her control, a lot of things that there's a lot of uncertainties, a lot of instability. And I think this is the one thing that she has that she feels like is hers, and it makes her feel good. It helps her to numb the pain, numb everything that she's going through, right? And it gives her a sense of release. Is it a healthy coping skill? No, but it's one of her coping skills. So that's just something to think about. Like, how are you coping with things? Like, do you feel like you have developed healthy coping skills or unhealthy coping skills? Georgia also has some unhealthy coping skills as she's dealing with her trauma. As we can see in the show, throughout the entire show, she's constantly having flashbacks of being physically abused, flashbacks of being homeless, flashbacks even developing a relationship with Ginny's father, who clearly she's in love with. And the way she's dealing with that is drinking. She's a heavy drinker. She's always drinking wine, or she drinks when she's feeling stressed. I think even bouncing from relationship to relationship is definitely how she's coping, because she doesn't want to sit with herself. She's not ready to deal with her stuff. And that we call avoidance, which is a symptom of trauma. You want to avoid what you've dealt with. You want to avoid how that situation has impacted you, right? And then we see that she also smokes weed. Okay? So these are unhealthy coping skills. Think about that. Yeah. And if this is how Georgia is dealing with her trauma, this is what's being modeled for Ginny and Austin. This is how we deal with stress. That's something to keep in mind, right? Okay. I got a few more thoughts, and then I'm going to let y'all go. Let me know what you think. I'm excited to hear your thoughts as well. Ginny is, no, I'm sorry, Georgia. Georgia, we see this also. She has poor boundaries, and it seems like anytime Ginny is like, Mom, can you not do this? Mom, can you not do that? And it's not just like a normal teenage, like, Mom, you're not cool or anything. Like, no, she really be asking Georgia, like, can you not flirt with my friends? Can you not be making out with the teacher in the gym? Like, these are boundaries that should be respected, and Georgia, has a hard time understanding that, and sometimes she doesn't even respect it at all, and that is frustrating. I can see how that can be frustrating for Ginny, and I can see how that can create a lot of feelings of not feeling safe in this relationship, in this mother-daughter relationship, this parent-child relationship. Ginny doesn't feel safe. She doesn't trust her mom. That's not cool, right? So all of that can really damage a child, and it can really have a long lasting impact on the relationship between the child and the parent. And I think we see that throughout the course of the first season. And I'm sure we'll see that more and more as we make our way, because you guys are probably fully caught up, but as I make my way through the entire series. Yeah. So yeah, like, it's important that a child feels safe, that they trust their parent, and we don't see that at all with Ginny. So those are like my general thoughts when it comes to Ginny and Georgia. I added a little bit of, stuff with Austin in there. If this is what Ginny is carrying, imagine what Austin is carrying. I can do a whole nother video on little cutie patootie Austin, but I'm not gonna go in right now, okay? But let me know you guys' thoughts. Let me know what you want me to talk more about. I can do that too. And yeah, we can just continue vibing and having this dialogue. All right. Thanks, y'all. Ginny and Georgia. Peace.